Well, hello again, and welcome to another edition of Weird News and Wacky History, a look behind the scenes of what's been happening throughout the years. I'm your host, Pastor Roland Moss, that old history dude. Letter writing is almost a lost art. Let's rediscover it today as we take a look at I Wrote Myself a Letter. War is a gruesome business for adults. Trying to write to your children from the front is a challenge of epic proportions. But Hugh Lofting found a way to entertain his kids from the trenches in World War I Europe that makes us still smile today. Born in 1886 in Berkshire, England, Hugh studied civil engineering at MIT in the US and was a successful engineer before joining the Irish Guards. Instead of glory and adventure, he found death on an industrial scale never imagined. Claiming in his letters home that the war news was simply too dull, he wrote instead of an English physician from Puddlesby on the Marsh in the West Country who was very fond of animals. He had rabbits in the pantry, white mice in the piano, a squirrel in the linen closet, and a hedgehog in the cellar. Severely wounded and eventually relocated to Connecticut, Lofting continued his tales of the remarkable doctor who could actually talk to the animals. Lofting's only work for adults, Victory of the Slain, was an epic poem in 7 parts that revealed his deep emotional wounds from the war. But his Dr. Dolittle adventures continued to entertain in books and films over the coming century. Not all letters are what they appear to be. Interest in Abraham Lincoln increases with each year. Over 16,000 books have been written on the 16th President of the United States. So imagine what kind of interest the discovery of Lincoln's long-lost love letters to his first love, Anne Rutledge, would generate. On January 3, 1929, the prestigious Atlantic Monthly published Part 1 of the 3-part series entitled Lincoln the Lover. The backwoodsy exchanges between the two lovers would have made Lincoln, a master of language and grammar, cringe in his grave. In them, Anne writes, "If you get me the dictionary, I know I can do both speaking and writing better. My heart runs over with happiness when I think of your name." In response to this hokey hillbilly hoo-ha, Lincoln ends with "yours affectionately, Abe," a nickname he detested. Judged forgeries by most top Lincoln scholars, the letters were submitted by Wilma Frances Minor of San Diego. A former actress, she sweetly beguiled the publisher into printing them. The truth came out on July 3, 1929. She'd written them herself, supposedly taking dictation from the spirit world. She claimed that it wasn't for financial reward, but because they should be placed before the people of the nation. Surely that was the reason. Here's something you've been dying to know for a long time. All those bags of letters to Santa Claus play a pivotal role in the courtroom scene in the 1947 Christmas movie classic Miracle on 34th Street. But what actually happens to all those hopeful missives addressed to the North Pole? That's where USPS's Operation Santa steps in. Back in 1912, Postmaster General Frank Hitchcock had a great idea. He created a holiday program for all the letters arriving addressed to Santa Claus. Local postmasters could allow their carriers to open and read these North Pole-bound letters and then respond accordingly. Tens of thousands of needy kids, especially during the Great Depression, received small toys that made their holidays brighter. By the 1940s, this annual opportunity, now known as Operation Santa, had opened up its doors to various charitable organizations and large corporations to lend a hand as well. So popular did it become that the Postal Service has now expanded the program to anyone who wants to help. Simply go to the USPS Operation Santa website and sign up to adopt a letter. When COVID struck, a lot of things shut down, but not Operation Santa. The entire system went digital, and everything's been kept going virtually and online. Yes, Virginia, there really is a Santa Claus. Ever have problems with letter from mom? Well, you're not alone. Becoming president of the United States is never easy, especially at the tender age of 43 and getting dropped into the steadily escalating tensions with Nikita Khrushchev, the head of the Soviet Union. But John Fitzgerald Kennedy had a unique challenge from his own family. His mom, Rose Kennedy, was writing world leaders asking them for autographed photos. A few days after the Cuban Missile Crisis was resolved, JFK sent his mom a note on November 3, 1962, asking her to stop. "Would you be sure to let me know in the future any contacts you have with heads of state concerning requests for pictures, autographs, and etc." She sent him back a brisk note by return mail on November 10, 1962. "I can see that it was probably an error asking Khrushchev for his autograph back in August." Then to twist his tail just a bit more, she added, "As you know, German Chancellor Adenauer and President Eisenhower autographed books for you last Christmas, and I have asked General de Gaulle to do so for this Christmas. I guess this clarifies the situation." And then one last tweak of the new president's nose. "When I ask for Castro's autograph, I shall let you know in advance." Mom, will you cut it out? And that's about all the time we have for this episode of Weird News and Wacky History, a look behind the scenes of what's been happening throughout the years. I'm your host, Pastor Roland Moss, that old history dude, author, historian, and speaker, wishing that all of your history may be just a little bit weird.